This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Just going to ask everyone to mute themselves, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Arlington Branch NAACP February 2022 General Membership Meeting. My name is Julius, and I am President of Arlington Branch. Those of you that registered for this event should have about 45 minutes ago received all documents. I think that was the agenda, committee reports, budget, all things there pertaining to today's meeting, at least the hard copy documents, as well as some information about our scholarship program. And we need everyone who's joined us tonight to follow us on YouTube. That's coming from our communications chair. So if you haven't done that yet, please join us on YouTube. I think that was put in the email. With that being said, we're going to open up with prayer. Please keep Pastor Davis in your prayer, chair of our Religious Affairs Committee. She is under the weather a little bit. So in her absence, the vice chair of our Religious Affairs Committee, Sister Rosa Dunkley, please open us up with prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to say thank you, Father God, for another day. God, we come thanking you, Father God, for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us, Father. Father, as we prepare to go into this meeting on tonight, Father God, let everything be done decent and in order, God. God, I ask that you would just bless Reverend Davis right now, heal her wherever she needs to be healed. Oh God, I pray for Ukraine, Lord God. I ask, Father God, that you will cover them, Father. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sister Dunkley. Really appreciate that. Okay, Madam Secretary, can we go with the roll call of officers?
Yes. We have President Spain, who is present. First Vice President Kent Carter.
Here.
Second Vice President Sharice Kearns.
Here.
Third Vice President Michael Heminger. Treasurer Roy Austin.
Here.
Assistant Treasurer Adriana Spain.
Present.
I'm the Secretary Wanda Younger, present. Assistant Secretary Laurel Langhorn.
Here.
Executive Committee at Large Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large James Younger.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large Simone Walker. At Large Member Carolyn Kane.
Present.
Communications Chair Leah Matterall.
Present.
Criminal Justice Heather Kelly.
Present.
Economic Development and Labor Megan Brew.
Present.
Economic Development and Labor Maya Jones. Environmental and Climate Justice Gabrielle Cantor.
Present.
Environmental and Climate Justice Kenyatta Clements. Housing, filling in for Kellen Macbeth, Tim Dempsey. Legal Redress, Brendan Meehan. Membership, Keisha Tinsley.
Absent.
Political Action, Jamie Abrams. Political Action, Megan Reasor.
Present.
Religious Affairs, Miss Dunkley, who is present. Scholarship, Adore Williams. Scholarship, Jill DeWitt. And Special Events, Marvin Nels. That concludes the roll call.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary, for the roll call. We will go right into our financial report, which will be given by our Treasurer, Roy. Do we have the documents up for the presentation, Madam Secretary? I may have them. Give me let me see here. Roy, you can go ahead and start talking. Give me your.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are at the point now where we've gone through the year and we want to take a look at how we did financially.
Roy, first thing is to get the financial report for January.
Okay, do you have that up?
We're coming there just a second. You should have your copy, so sure, here we go. Go ahead.
Okay. For January 2022, beginning balance was $181,841.39. Ending balance $181,841.39. In revenue, we had PayPal donations totaling $135, other deposits $105. So that was an additional $240.75 into the checking account. Expenses, office supplies, $31.78. Shipping.
Roy, just give the bottom number. You don't have to go line by line.
The total in expenditures was $494.52. The checking account beginning balance was $20,708.17, with deposits of $240, withdrawals $494.52. The ending balance $20,454.40.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Your video on, Roy? You went dark. You went dark. What's going on?
It should be still on.
Don't see you. All right. So I think the next thing we're going to move into is your 2022 budget.
Oh, there it is.
You have that in front of you, Roy?
Okay, can I share screen?
We'll get it up. Give it a second. We'll pull it up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll pull it up.
That didn't turn out too well before.
We'll pull this up. Okay. Go ahead, Roy. So this is what you presented, the breakdown, and then I think the next page was the budget. So go ahead.
Okay. Can you enlarge that? My eyes are not good.
You have your copy, Roy. So go ahead. I think let me see here. Can I go a little bit? I think I can. Yeah, give me a second. As far as I can go with this, Roy. You have your copy?
I do. It's on the computer. I'm afraid that if I bring, well, let's give it a try.
Okay.
Okay. If you'll take a look at the monthly expense breakdown for 2021, you'll notice that we have a monthly accounting of where the money was spent. I'm still having difficulty seeing. I'll just get a hard copy. There we go.
Roy, let me help you out. So for everyone who's here, the way the budget has been, this is the 2021 monthly expense breakdown. This report has been presented to the executive committee. The executive committee reviewed it, approved the budget basically for 2022 last week. But this is a breakdown. Like I said, everyone who's registered for this meeting, all members should have received a copy of this. You don't have to go in all the details on this, Roy. What you most need to focus on is your proposed 2022 budget.
Okay, well, can we come down to that budget?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Again, looking at what we actually did in 2021 and what we propose for 2022. The differences, the reds are an indication of an under budget, that we did not budget enough. So again, in each of those categories, we upped the expenses to fit what we actually spent in 2021, which would be a total budget of $35,825. And you can see the various categories and where the money would be spent. Also, we have a category dealing with the donations that we expect to receive. And for an anticipated budget. And again, you can see what it actually was from last year and what we anticipate to receive this year. Total anticipated income is $24,473. And also where we expect contributions for scholarships to come from. Amazon, we'll still be spending at least $50,000 from them, although this past year we received no funds from Amazon, and we received a total of $48,000 from the Britain Foundation. We expect to receive at least $30,000 from Britain again this year. Okay.
Julius, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. So Roy, the way this works, budgets are submitted to the executive committee. From the executive committee, they go to the general membership. So we're going to launch a poll here. If you have any questions about the budget, you should contact the treasurer or any of us as members, and we can go over it in more detail. So right now, what we're going to do is launch a poll for this budget. You can approve, disapprove, or abstain. Again, this budget was approved unanimously by the members who attended the executive committee last week. So the poll is now launched. Give it about 20 seconds. Again, if you have any questions about the budget, because this is your money, all members, please feel free to reach out to the treasurer directly, contact the secretary of the treasurer, and they can speak with you pointedly about any expenditures or line items in the budget, which all of you who attended this, who are on the call right now, should have received. Okay, we're going to end the poll. I'm going to share the results. Madam Secretary, can you copy these? These are the results of the budget. Thank you, everyone. Give me a second.
So JD, quick question. The difference between what we have budgeted and what we anticipate taking in, there's a difference. So does that mean that we are anticipating a bit of a budget shortfall this year, or what is the explanation for that? Or did I misunderstand it?
Let's take that up shortly, because we have Dr. Varghese here. We need to start right now, but I'll be more than happy to address that with you shortly. Okay, thank you for that question. Dr. Varghese, are you about ready? Because we have you on for 7:15. You're muted.
I am ready, other than being muted.
So just give me a chance to give you a little intro. So As many of you know who are on this call, Dr. Varghese is the Public Health Director for Arlington County. He has been working hard over the past couple of years here in our community, fighting this pandemic called COVID. We asked him to come on tonight to give us a short brief about the past, the present, and what we should be looking forward to here in the future, maybe. And then we're going to open it up for a few questions. Again, we're limited in time, but it's just great that Dr. Varghese has took some time out of his schedule to be with us tonight. So without further ado, Dr. Varghese, the floor is yours. You can share a screen, and then about 7:30, we'll go into questions, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to try to share my screen in a minute. Let's see, click on that. Let's see. Are you seeing a slide, I'm hoping?
I'm seeing Dr. Reuben Varghese has started sharing, but nothing has come up yet.
That's interesting. Doesn't look like anything's frozen here. Anything still, I don't know why it's not doing anything. So
Does he have permission to share his screen?
Yes, he does.
Okay, thank you.
Try it again, Dr. Varghese. Just go out and come back in.
that's what I'm trying to do, and something seems frozen. I'm hearing you all, but I can't open this up. So I may have to.
Send it to me. Send it to me real quick, Dr. Varghese, and you can go ahead and just do your brief, some opening, and we'll get this slide up.
No,
Send me the file.
hang on. That's my concern. I'm okay. I think something just unlocked. So
There you
hopefully.
go. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, my apologies. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you about where we are with COVID as part of your wellness program. Just wanted to first of all say, I mean, it's been a long journey, and regarding COVID-19, it saddens me greatly that we had as many people die of COVID as we did. I would have hoped for much fewer, and that was not the reality we faced. And likewise, I'm sad that we had as many people exposed and infected. We went into COVID with certain disparate conditions, which certainly were not going to get better during COVID, and most likely have worsened for most at risk. And with that, let me get on with the presentation. So in a sense, a situation summary, and I'm presenting data in a sense from last week because I have staff usually provide me with a summary that comes in on Tuesday. So I'm using those slides, but the larger picture hasn't significantly altered. Last week, the Northern Virginia region was at a high COVID-19 community transmission level, but fortunately it's been a significant decline from the January 2022 peak, maybe it's substantial for the region. We're still waiting for that report for the region. And the reason why I'm talking about it is it's to contrast with the new CDC metrics, but the old ones relied strictly on case count and test positivities because the primary focus was on transmission risk. The new CDC metrics that came out on Friday show that Northern Virginia is at low COVID-19 community impact levels because it's looking at the impact of COVID on the community. And what I mean by that is while it looks at the cases, either whether it's equal to 200 cases or more or less than 200, they're also now factoring in the ability for the healthcare system to adapt to those cases, and are they able to respond to it. So it's more about the impact on the larger community as opposed to transmission. So they're different metrics. So just want people to be aware that that's come forward. And obviously all of these things are voluntary compliance in the large frame. And the good news overall is vaccination progress as of last week. 86.6% of Arlington residents 5 and older have had at least one dose of vaccine. So that's a good thing. And those 5 to 11 were now at 64% with at least one dose of vaccine, which, if it's not the highest in Virginia, is one of the highest. And we continue to work with the school system to improve that result. Just so that I should probably put it on the this feature, sorry. So this is just so that people can see what the new metrics from CDC are like. Obviously, there's an area for those fewer than 200 cases, and in the past 7 days for those 200 or more. But the indicators for each are the same. The number of new COVID-19 admissions per 100,000 and the percent of staff inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients, a 7-day average. And it gives a low, medium, or high level. We are in the low green area as Northern Virginia when they came out last week. So that is a good thing from a community impact area, just so that you're aware of that. And then the guidance on CDC tells what people should do, what they would recommend everyone do, depending on which level it is. If you're in the green area, stay up to date with your vaccines and get tested if you have symptoms. What do you do when you're in the medium area, and what do you do in the high area? So just want to make sure people are aware of that, because when these things change, it can be confusing. This is what the recommendations are to the general public, and obviously people have to still decide for their organizations. We're officially waiting for the Virginia Department of Health to weigh in on where these things are, but I thought it was important for you, your membership, to see what it is. I don't anticipate the Virginia Department of Health doing something different from this, but to cross the T's and dot the I's, want to make sure that we know where things are going with them. So the reason why I just created this slide is just to remind people that you'll be able to use the color coding to then know what steps to take, and you can get it at the CDC website. And eventually this should be on the Arlington website as well. So I know some of you are data driven, and I just wanted to make sure that you can see some of this information. This is the pandemic curve basically for the cases experienced in Arlington that we have a record of since the very beginning. So if you look at the x-axis, this goes back as far as March 2020, just a long time ago, since we're basically in a couple days at March again. So it's a long time. And early on, these peaks, hopefully you're seeing my cursor, both in May and June, and then December and January of 20 and 21, used to be much higher peaks because the scale was different. But when Omicron came recently, when we thought 300 and 700 cases, in a particular day was problematic, when we peaked close to 3,000 or just above 3,900 cases in a particular day, obviously the scale has to change, and so these look like blips, but they weren't blips. And in fact, the earliest one was where we experienced the most fatalities. Not that more haven't occurred, but that was where the bulk of them started for this period. And the one good thing is that we have experienced significant decline in the daily cases that we're experiencing, like the rest of Northern Virginia. So those are good signs, and I'm hoping that trend will continue. But just when you look at this, this is just a snapshot of the experience in Arlington. The next few slides are, some of them are images from the website itself. You can go to our website to get summary data, and at least through last Tuesday, we've had a total of just shy of 40,000 cases, shows the number of people hospitalized, and the fact that in that 2-year time period, we've had 309 people die. As I said, it would have been nice to be 0. Unfortunately, a number of those also occurred in our nursing homes and assisted living facilities. Once a germ like that gets in, it has to fizzle out, and unfortunately in that time frame, people get exposed, and the elderly are most at risk, especially in nursing homes, because they have comorbid conditions. So, but it gives you a general gist of what's going on. This is data by zip code, which is on our website, and it shows that there is no part of Arlington that has not had an experience with COVID. However, that experience is still differential. The areas in darkest orange have the highest case rates in proportion to their population, and then the light orange, then the light blue, and then the dark blue. That's just how Microsoft allows us to color code this. And so you can see both the cases and they're adjusted per 100,000. And on this slide, you see what the average Arlington rate was through last week of 16,652. And 3 zip codes have those highest. And it's really 2. The edges around in 22211 are near the cemetery. And so they qualify for, as a zip code. So it doesn't mean that we aren't concerned about it, but some people are surprised that we have a zip code with that few people. So just wanted to have you be aware of that. When you look at the disease impact by age, the disease burden has been highest in those 39 and under, but the deaths have disproportionately impacted our older adults, especially residents 80 and older. This fits with the demographics that we've learned about COVID throughout the nation and the globe, that as you increase in age, your risk of COVID complications grows with age. Fortunately, to this point, we have not had anyone die under the age of 40, but that risk is still technically there as you go up on scale. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. So with population, looking at it by race, ethnicity, let me orient you to this rather busy slide. I wanted to make sure that you could see things all on one screen. So my apologies for all of this data here. The first column shows the population by race, ethnicity, the percentages in the population for Arlington. That's just the overall. The middle column shows the COVID-19 cases by race, ethnicity that we have been able to collect from the reports that have come in from doctors' offices and the laboratories. And finally, you'll see the graphic you'll see again, but it's residents with at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine listed by race, ethnicity. So the details on the slide reflect our general approach. We will usually put the worst and best case scenario on the slide. It doesn't mean there's not other things on the slide to pay attention to, but I wanted to make sure that you're aware just for data presentation, that's how we typically do it. So and just reading this directly because I think there's an impact, while almost 16% of our residents report being Hispanic or Latino, they represent 20% of the COVID-19 cases and represent 16% of those with at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine. And so that's just put that in relationship with each other. Almost 61% of Arlington residents are non-Hispanic white and represent 39% of the COVID-19 cases and are 51% of those vaccinated through the 21st of February of last week. So it's just to put this things into kind of scope and scale. Our residents who report being Black or African for the census, it's 8.74%, and they represent 9.29% of the cases and are 7.7% of those vaccinated through the 21st, and 9.65% of residents report being Asian, and they represent 7.65% of COVID-19 cases and 12.5% of those vaccinated through the 21st of February. One thing I want to point out is we actually have some degree of better data than we get through the Virginia Department of Health, because on down staff times, we try to call all of the cases to identify the missing data, including their race, ethnicity, but it's not an easy thing to do. Not everyone is comfortable providing it. Actually, we saw a decrease in people cooperating after we put the race, ethnicity, or the like the zip code data on the website, because people started going, are we being targeted or being said that certain areas are unsafe? So there are pros and cons to collecting data and sharing data. So just wanted to point out that was something we've known about, and it just came to light even further in the last 2 years of COVID. This, I think, is illuminating as well. Sorry for how much data there is, but I think people need to see that I said we had 86.6% of our population vaccinated who are 5 and older. And this shows in graphic detail the various age groups. And overall, other than for those under 11 and those over 85, all groups are at least at 80% or higher, which it's taken a while, especially for the younger set between 25 and 34, but even they have come into the 80% mark. But you know, while ideally I'd like it to be higher, based on national statistics, it was felt that about 16% of the population in the US would not get vaccine for a number of reasons, and I'll get into that on a future slide. But we've actually essentially mimicked that in US data. So it's why I had originally at some point said 80% was going to be the goal, and we've gone past it. I don't think realistically we're going to get to 90%. If you can prove me wrong, I'll be happy. And you've seen the same data on the previous slide, so I'm going to skip that. This is the race, ethnicity, and vaccine data that I had staff put all on one slide as well. So the reason why this is important about vaccine uptake barriers, the behaviors involved, is I think this is going to get to some of the wellness and future things we have to talk about as well. The specific data is less important than it's a way to think about public health measures in general. They're going to, and other interventions, I think, in society. You're going to have sometimes what we call the enthusiasts. Some people may call that the early adopters, those who are already vaccinated or definitely plan to get vaccinated. There are the hesitant, which within that, they're likely to be, they're unsure but possibly persuadable. They often watch and see how things go with other people, and then they'll get it. Some are cost anxious, and those things can be barriers like time or money, impediments to vaccine. And those who are system distrusters. They're not necessarily anti-vaccine, but they're distrustful of medical or government establishment. And so that's another thing that is common in many populations. And then there are people who are skeptical of COVID and others who are skeptical of other things. They are distrustful of medical or governmental establishment and vaccine. And so I think the thing that I would say is common among all of this is it's trust or the lack of trust. And those are going to be things that we've been talking about in emergency management, including public health, for decades. And it's still going to be an issue for this community and others. And there are two reasons why we don't trust people. First, we don't know them, and second, we know them. So this is definitely going into both what we entered pandemic with, what we've had during, and what's going to continue, at least from COVID. But it's also a way to think about things going forward with any health risk factors. In public health, we think in terms of risk factors or what you're exposed to. And some of those risk factors are protective risk factors. But in COVID, those who have less risk or less impact from exposures are those, for example, who have the ability to stay home exclusively. Those who are also vaccinated and boosted, that of course came later. There are those with average risk or impact of exposure. They don't live in congregate care settings. They're not considered essential workers. They're able to maintain 6-foot distances to perform activities of daily living. A fancy term for, you know, in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, why people go there is they may need help with eating and drinking, they may need help with dressing, or they may need help with toileting, or all three. And that means they need other people to help them, which means they have to get within 6 feet of them to do that. So it's hard to maintain distances. It's also some workplaces, there are people who can't maintain 6-foot distances at work. And that was true at the beginning of these things before interventions were put in. And then there are those who have even extra risk of exposure. As mentioned, congregate care settings, essential workers, those who cannot maintain 6-foot distances to perform their ADLs or work, or the unvaccinated. And complication risk is in many ways about past exposures, the cumulative risk. So you can look at it this way: you have less risk or less impact of complications if you have, for some reason, an extraordinarily healthy immune system. It's theoretical. There's the vaccinated and the boosted. Average risk would be those without chronic medical conditions and those in lower age groups. And increased risk or the impact of complications, those with chronic medical conditions, increasing age, those with both chronic medical conditions and increasing age, and the unvaccinated. The purpose in my reviewing this is not to review the specifics of COVID, but this can be looked at how you can look at risks for anyone, for most any health-related activity. There are those who are going to have certain exposure risks or less, and there are those with certain complication risks and not. And if you don't want to react to these things, you need a long-range plan, and that's usually societal. How do you reduce this so that it's not differential in risk? And those are public policy questions. We tell people what the risk factors are, but it is going to be, what's the public policy? Is there a way or a political will to work on this collectively? So what's next for our community short-term, things that I think are of interest to people? So I think people know the FDA postponed review of the data for vaccines for children under 5 until Pfizer shares its 3rd dose data. And Pfizer now anticipates presenting that information by April. Let's hope that that is the last delay. But obviously, for vaccine trust especially, and given how precious children are in that sense, the normal process has always been that young children are the last ones tested because they want to make sure that they're not at risk from the vaccines themselves. That's been a historic way that vaccine has been studied in the US and across the globe. Continued recommendations, we're going to get for additional doses if immunocompromised or boosters are waning immunity. That could still be forthcoming. Not saying that it's likely, but just those are things we always pay attention to. I suspect we'll hear more about ongoing results of studies on the effectiveness of current vaccines and treatments against Omicron, and I'm hoping that this is the last variant. But I have to remind people, additional COVID variants are still possible until the majority of the world is vaccinated. I don't think that's going to be at least till the end of 2022. Right now, according to publicly available data, close to 63% of the world has at least 1 dose of vaccine. And so I'm going to continue to remind people that using layered strategies or the Swiss cheese model, as you and your loved ones need, to reduce risk of continued exposure, as no vaccine or other strategies 100%. You may have seen this slide that we've modified. It just reminds people of the various ways that you can protect yourself, and you will each individually decide how many of those layers to put together, because that is what we've advised the public to do. So that is another strategy to keep in mind. A longer term for the community, assuming there are no further variants, as different nations kind of think about what endemicity is, and in a sense is, for me, the definition colloquially is, basically what's kind of the normal that doesn't lead to too many outbreaks, but there's still some of that risk and so on. It becomes the new baseline. That can still change over time, but whenever we reach that, we will as a nation, I know at least in public health, be moving towards COVID-19 follow-up to being something similar to seasonal flu, where we look at outbreaks in especially certain settings like the assisted living and nursing home environments. We would then be looking at surveillance through physician and hospital providers, assuming that we don't have as much testing going on, but there's no plan that I'm aware of for testing to go away anytime soon. At some point in the longer term, and I can't tell you when, it's going to be important for all communities, including this one, to review the pandemic emergency preparedness and response plans. I never thought I'd say that I'd lived through 2 pandemics. In H1N1, because it was flu, schools and community centers were part of our response plans. COVID upended a lot of that across the nation. Schools are the most plentiful common governmental owned buildings in the system, and have typically been part of all plans to be able to do vaccination especially. And given the characteristics of COVID and the spacing needed, we absolutely understood we couldn't use the schools for those activities except perhaps after hours. And so that's why we've had to rely on community centers that were large enough to be able to do the things that we did. And so just how we build that into the planning and realize, wow, we don't have as much space as we thought we did. Information access, how people access information. There are different ways that people do it, and it's always going to be a lag. The county, I think, was able to eventually respond, but was it as quickly as necessary? I suspect not. In fact, I know it would have been nice to have it up and running the minute it was necessary, and I think there was a little delay all over. The last area that I really want to focus on is kind of like more theoretical, but it's going to be what all of us in this community and across the nation have been struggling with, and it's going to be something that decision makers, those who have to resolve when values clash. Are we interested in equity? There's going to be a running debate between those who have the philosophy of equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. I think that's been a debate. That's going to be an ongoing debate. Another thing that I've known for years, but I think more of the community has known, is now recognizing we all have varying risk tolerances. Likely that that's happening in people's own families. And then when you go across families, how do you put together something that makes sense for groups of people that have different risk tolerances? And finally, in a sense related to the many reasons for vaccine hesitancy, what do you do about trust? Because there's also different levels of trust across population groups, individuals, and how are we going to get, I'm not talking big P kind of political parties, but how do you get agreement on that small P scale of political agreement on how to do things? That is something that decision makers for organizations are going to have to do, just like family households had to do it for themselves. It's just that when you have to do it with each other, that's harder, and people haven't thought about that. So I'm going to stop there, and happy to answer questions.
All right, can you stop sharing your, there you go, you did that. So a lot there, you kind of, you shared some good information. Can we get those slides so
Yes,
we can
we'll be
share
able
with
to.
individuals? Yes. So I'm going to share a screen with you, Dr. Varghese, just so you can you'll see, and definitely we won't be able to get around to this tonight, but ask that you when we send this over to you, we ask questions. People who are going to attend, well, ask them they have questions for you, and we got about 12 questions that came in from individuals that registered. We're not going to go through all these tonight, right? But we'll send these over to you, and we will ask if you can just reply back to us here at the NAACP. And what we'll do, like we've done in the past, we will share your reply with everyone on tonight's call. All right. So
I felt bad I didn't introduce my colleague Robert Sharp, who's the assistant division director, and he's on here as well, just so that we can he can help me get these things answered and so on, either in real time or afterwards. So
all right, so it's on you, Robert. That's what we're sharing. It's on you.
He'll be the one hounding me for the reviewing the answers. So before we send it out. So.
All right, there's a couple of questions. There's a lot of thank yous for the presentation. So what I'm going to do here is, so we have Jennifer Apter. She put a question in the chat. So we're going to try to get a couple of them out the way. Jen, if you don't, and Katie starting to look like she just raised her hand, but Jen, we'll go to you next, Katie. Jen, go ahead and come off, unmute yourself and ask your question.
And I can let me try to turn my video on too. Yeah, what I put in the chat was actually just a comment, but I do have some questions too. And I guess the biggest one is kind of to your point about where we go from here. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know, you didn't, and maybe you don't say your personal opinion on it. I'm a little bit concerned about a perfect storm with people kind of with for various reasons, mass usage probably declining, particularly in our schools, testing somewhat declining too. At least I'm pretty focused on the schools. I have a daughter who's in that 5 to 11-year-old group. So that's an area that seems like it's about to change. And I'm also hearing that there might be waning immunity from the boosters and from the shots. So I'm kind of wondering, You know, in terms of where we go from here, what the best ways to protect, particularly the communities that this group would be most interested in, since you shared some data and, you know, it's not equal across various zip codes. It doesn't seem like, you know, it seems like there's greater risk for certain communities. So I'm particularly interested in how we continue to protect these community, you know, protect our communities, big and small, as risks might be increasing, actually.
Thanks, Jen. So
Yeah.
if you could do that in about 2 minutes.
All right, easy question.
Easy question. I think anticipating some of that is some of the comments I meant about long-term and short-term. This community is no different than every other community. There are differences in risk tolerance, values, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is going to have to be a political process, which as a general rule, public health, as we're practicing, we just give recommendations about how to reduce X. There is an assumption that, you know, you put that into the context of what are the other risks, because I think people have forgotten that, you know, germs are an important part of health, but that's also been true entirely even before COVID, okay? And there are important things about gathering as well. So people have got to be able to figure out collectively, how do you have that group risk tolerance? I think the reason why CDC has shifted to what it's recommending right now is there are more options for people to protect themselves. Still not going to be an easy thing to do, but there are more of those options. But it doesn't suddenly mean that these discussions don't happen. And it's going to be organizational leaders, you know, willing to sit with anyone to say, here are your options. But I think people are going, but you're supposed to tell us what to do. And I've said, if you ask your doctor to tell you what blood pressure medication or treatment or exercise to do, they shouldn't be making that decision. I mean, unless you're unconscious and unable to do that for yourself. It's going to be, what is it that you're most comfortable with? Now, that's hard enough for an individual. Can you imagine trying to do that when you're doing it for other people? So I don't begrudge when I speak to County Manager Mark Schwartz, it's like, you have to decide what you think is the collective okay thing to do, knowing not everyone's going to be happy at all. But do you have those discussions? I try to remind people, I did it with my church tradition at the national level. They wanted to know about the Episcopal Convention. I said, no, I can't make the decision for you. But what is it that will be most healthy in all of the spectrums of health collectively? Because we can't maximize everything and get 100%. Yeah. That's just not possible. So if that helps, that's the context. So I would continue to have those things and make sure that you're also doing what you can to maximize your own situation, because there are things that can be done in various settings. So.
Thank you, Dr. Varghese. We're going to go to Katie, then we'll do one more, I think, Sangeeta. Thank you. Good to see you, Jen.
Hi, thank you. So my 5-year-old is in preschool here in Arlington. His preschool has never given him a mask break other than eating or taking a very short nap. He wears it all day outside from 8:30 to 5:30 at night, never getting a break. He cries about it. He thought he didn't have any friends for the first few months of school. He thought his teachers hated him because he can't see those facial expressions. I was very hopeful that when the CDC guidance came out on Friday, and then the VDOE put out other guidance on Friday as well, that preschools would be changing. And it seems that they are still under the impression that until they get some county direction, that they will not be making any changes. And I've long asked for your office to do a town hall for these directors so that they can ask questions, because they are very misinformed. They have, for example, my son also cannot share toys with his classmates. They have to each have their own toys. They are disinfecting the gyms and the playgrounds after each class because they believe that that is required. There's just a lot of misinformed childcare providers out there. And I want to know what your office is going to do to help fix that.
Thank you, Katie. Dr. Varghese, and then we'll have one more after this.
Sure. The staff routinely engage with each of these institutions. They are actually tell them, I think, the things you've just described, but they also have other concerns as well. We do work with childcare licensing. We are trying to set something up, but they are the ones that are the official people who set it up. And so, but we have said we are willing to do it, and we wanted to see what was coming down the pike. So we've been told by childcare licensing they're going to set something up so we can have another meeting, because they did one last year. We're going to do it again to see if that collective thing will work. But we have actually been working with childcare facilities routinely as they ask questions. Staff talk to them about this. This is not just limited to the childcare settings. When we've done it with adult centers as well, it's amazing what people interpret. People were saying we can't have visitation for more than 15 minutes because of the CDC guidance. We said, no, we never said that. If you're trying to reduce your risk and you don't want that, you can say that. That's not the spirit of what's going on. But there are people on both sides of this. So it's in the works, but I can't tell you when it specifically is. I don't know if Robert, if you have anything else.
Thank you, Dr. Varghese. Our last question.
Yes, hi, Dr. Varghese. I apologize if this was mentioned before. I did have to step away in the middle of your presentation. But are the home test results being reported in the daily, in the data?
It's an excellent question. Most home test results are not reported, and that's actually not surprising. As we shift, I think there are people hoping that all of that's reported, but that's not the case. That doesn't mean we can't get good trend data over time. It's what we do even with flu surveillance. We don't get most flu results, but over time, when you look at it, you can see seasonal changes and make predictions based on that. So that's likely where we're going. And then I think the move towards including hospital capacity is also good, but there's going to be tension for folks. There are those individuals who are going to be upset that it's not 100% transmission based. So that goes to the risk tolerance. And then there are others who are going to go, but if we've got the capacity to have people in the hospitals, I can accept that risk. And those are two different systems of risk tolerance. And that's where all I can really recommend is whatever groups you're part of, whether it's a childcare center, nursing home, or your pods in schools and so on, or you do with parents, talk freely about what you're comfortable with and not, so that you can actually then get what your needs met within the rules of that organization. Family pods are easier, I think, than collective settings like schools, but this is the process that we have. So I hope that helps, but it's definitely not 100% of those home test results are coming to us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Varghese. Reuben, there's a number of questions that were in the chat. One thing about what we do at NAACP, we're going to gather all those questions. We're going to send them to you, Reuben,
yep.
And we'll be looking for your Robert's reply to us so we can share it again with everyone on this call. This month, as we close out, is Black Health and Wellness Month as well. So we really appreciate you coming out at our February meeting here and sharing your time with us. And we really appreciate it. We know it's a lot of work to do. Way ahead for us is we'll see. But again, thank you, and we'll stay in contact. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go on to the agenda, and we were able to go a little bit over because I know we're not going to have our Rose. I know you're on tonight. I don't think we're going to have religious affairs brief, but we're going to go. Megan, are you available to do? We're going to do something new here tonight. It's going to be our business of the month highlight. Are you ready for this, Megan?
I am ready for it. Let's do it.
All right, I'm done. You go ahead. Where you at here?
Perfect. Yep, I am going to share my screen. So first off, want to give a big shout out to our communications chair, Leah Matterall, who put together this webpage for us. In addition, want to give a shout out to Austin Weehee, who's a committee member for economic development and labor, who made the contact with the Deed of Coffee House and Social House. want to direct you to this webpage within the Arlington branch website for our small business spotlight. So first, I will introduce the program. One of the big initiatives that we have been piloting through the Economic Development and Labor Committee is building relationships with small business owners of color. And so what we are doing as we build those relationships is we are going to promote them on the branch website, on our branch social channels, to via email to our membership, and as you see now, just promoting in our general membership meeting each month as well. On the website, you can send questions or nominations to me. So we are always building up our list of small businesses in Arlington that are founded or owned by people of color, so that we have the chance to spotlight them. So for this month, we're spotlighting Adito Coffee and Social House. So this is on Walter Reed Drive in Columbia Pike. This business has been around for a decade now. Their mission is to provide quality coffee, pastries, and healthy light meals with excellent and always friendly customer service. And I think they do an amazing job at that. This organization has Ethiopian roots. That's where the name Adidas came from. Sophonius is the manager and business partner at Adito. He's worked in the coffee shop and service industry in the DC area for over 10 years. And again, shout out to Austin for building that relationship and connection with Sophonius. So I am going to drop the link to the Adito Coffee House website. It looks like we got some folks in the chat who are big Adito fans. Love that. So again, you will see them featured on our social pages as well. We encourage y'all to drop by, perhaps introduce yourself to Sophonius if he's around, and again, really encourage you to go to businesses that are founded and run by people of color. So again, excited to kick off this spotlight. Huge thank you to Leah for creating a beautiful visual for us here, and Austin for building this relationship. So look out for more in the coming months, folks. That is what I got for right now. Happy to toss it to the next person.
No, there will not be a next person, because on the agenda, guess what? You're at the top of the agenda this month. So off to Economic Development and Labor for your committee report.
Oh, for my committee report, amazing. So a couple things that I would call out. So I just mentioned the spotlight that we touched on. I'm also going to pull up on my screen briefly. Give me 1 second. On the other side of our committee, we've got the labor side that's led by Maya Jones. If Maya is on the line, feel free to come off mute, Maya. But otherwise, I just wanted to share that our amazing intern, Sam Scales, has put together a handout that I will share with the group. What Sam had identified in Arlington is that we were seeing a very small number of EEOC claims, and the majority of those claims were denied because the folks who filed the complaint had not gone through the process with their organization. So specifically, we were seeing a lot of these claims come from folks who work for the school system. The school system has their own complaint process, and you need to go through that process before bringing it to a local judge. So with that small representation of EEOC claims, what Sam put together for us is a Know Your Rights handout describing what an EEOC claim is, why you would file a claim, prohibited policies and acts, some examples. And so our intent is to hand out this information to local unions, make it available on our website so that folks have this information on hand. Super grateful to Sam for partnering with us on this work. Sam's got a background in labor rights and had some personal experience with it. So again, really excited that on the labor side of the house, this is what we're able to offer to our community partners and local labor unions, in addition to some of the outreach that we are doing to small business owners of color. That is what I got, President Spain.
All right, that's what you have. Great. Thank you for your presentation tonight. And we're going to move on to Rosa. Do you have anything? I know Pastor Davis is not with us. Do you have anything tonight that you need to bring to our attention, the group? Rosa, you're muted.
Yeah, just
Okay.
a couple of things, but I one that, oh Lord, Jesus, I done put it up. You said put it up, I put it up.
It's all right.
Oh God, I can't find it. So go ahead on.
We can come back to you. Go ahead and get your stuff
Okay.
together. We'll move over to our political action committee. Megan and Jamie, are y'all ready?
We're ready.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Megan and I are going to divide our time. I'm going to give a very brief update on the legislative session first. So we're about 2 weeks away from the close of the legislative session. A lot of the work this session has been defensive, trying to protect the work of the Virginia State Conference and the branch in prior sessions, making advances last term in criminal justice, education, and voting rights, particularly trying to defend those bills. So a lot of sort of whack-a-mole politics here, but there is one call to action and one celebration that I'll share at this interim point. First, I want to share a call to action. Ooh, that's a very long hyperlink, but hopefully that works. I am posting in the chat a very long hyperlink to a call to action the Virginia State Conference pushed out yesterday relating to SJ1. SJ1 seeks to make the right to vote an affirmative right in Virginia, and it needs to pass out of the Assembly this session in order to make it on the ballot. So the framing the Virginia State Conference has is let the voters decide. So this is trying to put a constitutional amendment to the voters, giving granting automatic rights, voting rights. So a really important political action item. If you have a moment during or after the meeting to fill it out, if you fill it out, it'll take you directly to your state reps to advocate for that passage. Second, so that's our call to action. Second, want to offer one celebration. So the Assembly has passed the tweak that we needed in Arlington to be able to get independent oversight of our civilian accountability board, our oversight board, and particularly want to highlight how many folks here showed up with the virtual connections. Folks were able to show up and testify and give comments rather in support of this legislation, and it really made a difference. There was a line, I don't know, 10, 15 people long the day I saw of folks here who took the time out of their schedule to make this local tweak needed to be able to get true independent oversight. So a huge note of gratitude to everyone who showed up and a celebration. And in the coming days, we have 2 weeks left of the session, and we need to be particularly vigilant to work in housing, criminal justice, and education. And I just want to give a shout out. Our housing committee and education committee particularly are fighting like hell behind the scenes and publicly to try to write great bills, get great bills passed, defend problematic bills. And so just a huge shout out to everything that is happening. Political action is a collaborative activity. So we've got important bills in housing and criminal justice and education to be vigilant for ongoing alerts. I'm going to put in the chat the Civilian Oversight Board language if you're curious, and Megan will finish our report.
All right, thanks for that, Jamie. Mine is way less exciting, but the other thing that we've been focusing on these first 2 months of the new year are identifying our 6 priority projects for 2022, and we're kicking off subcommittees within the Political Action Committee. So our first priority is obviously legislative advocacy. So as Jamie just mentioned, we are in progress with that, and it is ongoing at least through the end of the session, and then we do a lot of work behind the scenes between the sessions. One of our other priorities is going to be exploring the possibility of doing a local legislative scorecard on our local Arlington governing bodies. So we've begun the research on that. And also a priority to try to develop a racial equity toolkit. And so we started some research on this, and that would be a resource for our local governing bodies and representatives to have all of their decision-making go through a racial equity lens in the beginning of the decision-making process, not on the back end. So we started some exciting research on that. Voter registration, get out the vote efforts, voter education is a hallmark of the Political Action Committee. So we'll be really kicking those off starting this spring. And then they really get started in the summer, and it's all hands on deck in the fall. We also plan on doing our candidate forums again this year and our candidate questionnaires. So we'll kick off those efforts around the spring or the summer. And so those are our 6 priorities, and we look forward to kicking those off. And that's all we've got, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your hard work and your diligent efforts over the past. I know you've been working hard. Everyone has. So thank you for an outstanding report. All right. We're going to move over to environmental and climate justice. Gabrielle? Cantor?
Hey there.
Wake up, Gabrielle. Where you at? Okay.
Good. Not eating my dinner anymore, so we're good. Hey, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. The Environment and Climate Justice Committee met at the beginning of the month. We're actually going to be having our next meeting next weekend on Sunday at 6:30. Just as a preview, we're planning to have the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality has a new environmental justice, some representatives for the various regions of Virginia. So she's going to come to talk to us about how the Virginia DEQ affects environmental justice. So that'll be very interesting. So anyone who is an active member is welcome to join. You can either get the email from our general email list, or if you send me a message, I will make sure to include you on the email with the Zoom information for that. But what we talked about in our last presentation was the Arlington Tree Canopy Fund is doing a tree canopy fund equity project, which we have sort of been partially involved with because Eco Action Arlington had a volunteer pilot program where we went out and physically knocked on doors to try and do outreach to get trees planted in some of these neighborhoods that have low canopy, tree canopy, as well as our communities of color. So this program they're raising some money to try to implement this program on a slightly larger scale, and also hire an admin and things of that nature. So we heard about that, which was all good news. Keeping our eye on that, obviously, as it continues in its process. We talked a little bit about the Virginia Grassroots Coalition has a tool for specific environmental bills that we are interested in. And so for the next legislature, we'll be working with them probably a little more closely. And I think that's about it for the important stuff, but hopefully to hear from you all. And if anyone's interested, we're meeting next Sunday.
Yeah, thank you, Gabrielle. And I will say we are looking for additional members. I know many of you are on this call to join our Environmental and Climate Justice Committee. So again, if you are interested in finding out more, please reach out to us. Gabrielle, if you don't mind putting your email in the chat, reach out to our chair and we will get you involved. Thank you, Gabrielle, for an outstanding report. And I think your report is also attached with everyone else's report. All right, Rosa, are you ready? If not, we can go to criminal justice, then come back to you.
I just have 2 items.
Okay.
The Religious Affair Committee is setting up a virtual voters registration drive at local churches and faith community from April to June.
Mhm.
And also we are welcoming new members to join us for our March meeting, March the 8th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. I'll keep the rest for later.
Well, thank you, Sister Dunkley. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to give, Sister Dunkley and I have been working in this branch for how many years? Over a decade?
Oh, Lord, you would ask.
No, we thank you
many years.
We
Many
thank you
years.
for sticking with us and all the hard work you're doing with our Religious Affairs Committee and that level of outreach. Speaking of religious affairs, we since our last meeting, we had an opportunity, I along with a few members of the branch, Michael Heminger, Rosa was there, our Pastor Davis, and Kathleen McSweeney. We visited virtually Mount Olivet United Methodist Church and gave a presentation about some of the things we do, and we're so thankful for them welcoming us. In fact, Mount Olivet gave a donation, just came in last week to this branch, to this branch for the uplifting of what we do. So really appreciate, we're building those relationships, and thank you, Sister Dunkley, for what you and Reverend Dr. Davis have been doing and will continue to do. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, criminal justice. Heather, are you ready?
I am. Good evening. We had we've got more going on with the Criminal Justice Committee than we anticipated even just a month ago. At our January meeting, our committee meeting, we planned on a kind of a quiet start to the year. And then on the 1st of February, there was yet another tragic death in custody at the Arlington County Jail of a 41-year-old Black man who was being held on a charge of trespassing and had been in custody for, I believe, a little more than 2 weeks, awaiting his first appearance in court, and really has once again shaken our community to the core. We are very actively pursuing avenues of seeking answers, investigation, and accountability for what is becoming increasingly apparent is a pattern of things going, some things going very drastically wrong for Black and brown men, in particular in our county facility, our county detention facility. We are working as a committee and the executive committee very diligently on trying to find ways to try to explore finding accountability here, and looking in multiple different directions. One of the things that we did late last year, before this most recent in custody death, was we spoke with the state AG. This was before the change of administration, and even before the change of administration, did not find that there were very effective avenues to try to explore pattern and practice problems that are pattern and practice policy problems in the jail. And the AG's office suggested perhaps we should contact the Department of Justice. And that is the direction in which we're heading. We are, as a committee and as a branch, going to be asking for review of particularly the most recent several deaths. There have been 3 in less than, I believe it's 15 months. And 7 deaths over the course of the last year. It goes beyond apparently one person, one group of individuals. There's a problem that needs to be explored and changed. Policies need to be changed. And we are going to be working very hard on that in the near future and in the long term to make sure that there will be answers and there will be changes.
Thank you.
Yeah, one other thing I would dovetail with the Political Action Committee comments about the way that there are a number of folks in this branch in leadership, but members of the branch who have come, who have stepped up, sometimes very early in the morning, to comment on legislation that was pending in the in Richmond that was successfully passed, that we think will help us in the other avenue of accountability that we're pursuing, and that is oversight of allegations of police misconduct. And so we are keeping a close eye on the selection of the Community Oversight Board and the eventual selection of the independent policing auditor. And we'll be working as closely as possible with the county board in developing effective and transparent, not policies, but a memorandum of understanding for how the Community Oversight Board will operate.
Great. Thank you, Heather, for that that report. And since we still have a number of folks on the call, I would just say that, you know, given the level of sensitivity, a lot of times in legal redress and criminal justice, there is only so much we can say in forums like this, because again, we too have an ethical responsibility to protect individuals and people that we perhaps come in contact with. But I will say something that I've said going all the way back to, we probably remember the death of Mr. Becton. My role as president of the civil rights organization is to push individuals, sometimes agitate, in the direction to whereby justice is served. And it is my duty to leave no stone unturned. And that will be the case. And so in all of these matters, I don't know what happened, what was going on in the NAACP a decade ago, but it's a new day, and we are just honored to have so many stalwart experts in many fields to be a part of our organization and give us wise counsel. You know, I have a lot of conversations with individuals in our government and in our community who many have concerns. Many tell me that, you know, things are just ongoing. I totally understand, but we too, as civil rights activists, have a duty to engage, and that's what we're doing. And we will continue to do that, because for me, and I think for everyone on criminal justice and everyone in leadership at the executive committee, accountability means a lot. And we're not going to sit around and just let people tell us whatever they want to tell us anymore. We're going to push until we find the answers. And it means exactly what CEO President Derek Johnson of the NAACP tells every branch. Our job is to change policy. Our job is no longer to walk up and down the street and hold picket signs. It's to help change and shift policy. That's our job in this volunteer organization where nobody gets paid, right? So we're going to continue to do that. Thank you, Heather, for your leadership. Stay tuned. I would just say that, right? We have more to follow. All right, thank you, Heather. We're going to move on to the next one. I think we're going to be on time. We have scholarship, housing, and then education. Is anyone from scholarship on? I think Adora may have been on travel. Is Jill?
Hi.
Who is that?
It's Leah.
Who? Oh.
Leah, can you hear me?
Hey, Leah. Hi. Oh, okay, Leah's here. Hi, Leah.
Hello. Yeah, sorry. Adora's busy and Jill's not feeling too well, so I'm here
One
representing.
of our former recipients and now about to be a doctor or something. Go ahead, Leah. The floor is yours.
Not yet. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Leah. I'm going to try to make this super brief. The branch officially launched our 2022 scholarship application a couple of weeks ago, and that application will be closing on March 10th. So in preparation for the application review process, the committee is currently looking for branch members to help volunteer with our community read. And so that's basically when the submitted applications are read for the first time, processed, evaluated based on a certain set of criteria, and then they're read again by the scholarship committee, and then finally by the executive committee. So if you are interested in participating in the community read, please send us an email. I will leave the scholarship committee email in the chat. Secondly, we are looking for any branch members who are interested in becoming a mentor for our scholarship recipients. So last year was the inaugural year of this new opportunity within our scholarship program, where we were able to pair new scholarship recipients with branch members who were either alumni of the colleges that these students were attending, or they worked in particular careers or fields of study that students were interested in. So we are hoping to continue this program for our 2022 recipients. So if you are interested in, getting involved with that, also send us an email. Lastly, in order to strengthen and expand the impact of our scholarship program, we would love if anyone with fundraising experience, grant writing experience, donor relations experience to please share a few tips and pointers with the committee. Join the committee if you would like. You don't need fundraising experience to join. We would appreciate all of the help. But if you do have that fundraising experience, please reach out to us. We would appreciate it, and we would love to have you. So with that, send us an email. I will leave the email in the chat. If you have any questions or concerns for the committee as well, send us an email and we will promptly try to respond to you as soon as possible. So with that, thank you for your time. I'm done.
Oh yeah, a little more time. Thank you, Leah, for such hard work and what you've been doing with the scholarship committee. Yeah, to everyone who's still on the call, we're looking for individuals like Leah stated to help out with review of the scholarships this year. And so if you have time on your schedule, please come on, please sign up and help us out along with everything else that was listed. I think in the email that went out earlier this afternoon with the agenda, some information from the scholarship committee was attached. And I believe we may be okay with funding for 2022. I'm about 75% sure. So more to follow with that as relates to our next iteration of future leaders scholarships, along with working with the Britain Foundation. Okay, Kelly Macbeth, I know is at a meeting, another housing meeting, but we have Tim Dempsey with us. Tim, you're on the call. You're going to give our housing update tonight?
Yes.
All right, sir.
All right, yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, Kellen's at a meeting with the Virginia Poverty Law Center actually to have to discuss legislation for actually the next session. So couldn't be here tonight. He asked me to fill in and just give the update for the housing committee. There's not, I'll try to be brief. There's not a lot to report, but the big thing we did this month was Kellen had organized a fair housing conference where he brought in some speakers, specialists, kind of give an overview of fair housing policies as it pertains to Arlington and Virginia at large. So it's a good mix of kind of history and policy. And I think I believe JD had sent out a link for people who wanted to go and see that. It's definitely very much worth watching if you missed it. The other thing the branch is working on is a letter to the county board and county manager regarding zoning reform as part of the missing middle study that the county is doing right now. We expect that to be ready to be sent out in March. And in terms of state policy legislation, we are about to see a bill that Kellen actually had participated in amongst some others from our branch in initiating through conversations with our local legislators, which is basically the HB, what's the number? HB 802, which looks like it's about to pass the Senate, which is basically would allow localities to take legal action against landlords that are failing to meet or comply with safe and environmentally safe and physically safe housing, which would most certainly help us to avoid situations like we saw at the Serrano and potentially other places in the future this past couple of years. So it's a pretty big victory because that actually originated here in our branch in partnership with the Virginia Poverty Law Center and some of our local legislators here. So, and I think that was all that's worth mentioning at this point. But there's a lot of work being done in general behind the scenes. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim, and for filling in tonight in Kellen's absence. But I really don't say Kellen's absence because you used to be the chair of this committee not long ago. So you know all the ins and outs of it. Yeah, we've been that bill 802 is definitely a very significant bill that kind of Kellen helped craft. I think work with. We had some meetings with Senator Eben early on and a few others. So we're able to get that across the finish line. That is going to be a significant one. And even going all the way back to the bill with the independent auditor. Let's not forget, it wasn't, we actually had to, work some magic and deal with our legislators here. I mean, our county board here and manager to get that portion changed. But it's a good move. Thank you. Columbia Gardens, we're helping out with that a little bit. There's some families that are being displaced there, but we're working with some other tenant advocates to try to make sure that those tenants have a place and they aren't. Again, the impact is not so great. Unfortunately, the way it's set up, but the county can't do but so much. So we've been speaking with them. We've also had a meeting with the new team that's coming into the Barcroft. We met with them earlier this week along with the housing department and Visit CNM, and that had a really good conversation about the way ahead with that project. So a lot of work going on in housing committee. Thank you, Tim, for your service and appreciate you filling in tonight. All right, sir. Thanks. All right, education committee.
Good evening, everybody. I will try to be brief, but as everyone knows and has been witnessing over the past 2 months, there has been a lot of activity on the legislative side concerning education. As we anticipated, there has been a consistent attempt to roll back various policies that have been put into place over the past 8 to 10 years or so. And some of the attempts have been successful. We are very concerned about the direction that the state is going right now for education, but we are fighting the good fight. Our Senate has been able to keep some of the bills from moving forward, but some have gone through with bipartisan support. One in particular that we are trying to get out ahead of and figure out how to mitigate on the ground is that they have now replaced a bunch of misdemeanor mandatory reporting that had been taken out last year was put back in. And what does that mean, mandatory reporting? It means that when a child does something like smart mouths a teacher, or if there's a little push shove that goes on but no one's hurt, those are things that have to be reported up, and they require criminal justice involvement. We worked really hard to have those taken out, and we were very happy about that. And we're really disappointed to see those back in play because those disproportionately, overwhelmingly impact Black and Brown students. Another on a good side, I'll try to balance it out. On the good side, there's a piece of literacy legislation that we were following that did pass with bipartisan support. So you know that we have worked very hard to advance structured literacy, and it's a method of teaching that allows children to learn how to read in a very specific manner. And it works very well for dyslexic children, but it also works very well for children who don't have any disability at all. So this piece of legislation is going to solidify that. So that is a great thing. And we are hoping to see our children improving in reading over time, because our reading is some of the worst in the country right now. So we're really looking forward to that. One of the other things that we're doing since this transition to the new administration is, like Jamie mentioned, we're building capacity to monitor legislation. It's very, very fast paced. And we really struggled to keep up with what was going where. And what the new administration did was strategically issued companion pieces of legislation. So it wasn't like this piece was just in the House and then it was going to go through and go to the Senate. There were companion pieces, so you had to monitor on both sides at the same time, and that we don't have the capacity for. But Brian Coleman, who's a new member of the Ed Committee, has come in and created a tracker that we hope to be able to use not just for the remainder of this session, but for subsequent sessions, because this isn't going to stop with this one session. What's going to happen is this administration is going to use this session to learn and refine, and then next session we're going to see this all again until they have established exactly what they'd like to establish here, which is a state where they do not teach inclusive history, where we don't probably mention gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, anything, where anything that makes white people uncomfortable doesn't get discussed. And that is what we are fighting against. That is our mandate in the bylaws, and we will continue to build that capacity over time. Our Dyslexic Edge Academy is moving full steam ahead. And if for those of you who don't know, Dyslexic Edge Academy is a partnership that we've entered into with Sliding Doors. It's a tutoring service, and we've started our first small cohort at Drew Elementary. And we are looking forward to that. It's a 2-year pilot. So we're in talks on how to scale that program up and maybe place it in other schools in the county or not in the county. We just want to ensure that struggling readers have access to tutoring, which most parents pay a lot of money to get. And we know that a lot of families don't have that access. So we want to make sure that we are working at the front end of teaching kids to read, so that we don't have to work as hard on the other end, but we're also working on the other end as well. So let's see. One thing that I wanted to mention, and this is kind of important, is there is an opportunity to review the 2022 math curricula as part of the new resource adoption. APS has not done a math resource adoption, I believe, and Marion, keep me honest here, I think it's about a decade since they've done a review of what the math curricula are in the county. So that is going to be on the 16th of March from 1:30 to 6 at Kenmore. So if you are interested in what children are going to be learning in math and how they're going to be learning it, have a look at that. I wanted to give you guys an update on the virtual learning program for those who are following it. As you know, the school board voted to pause, and I know you guys have all seen pause in quotes, because our belief is that it's not a pause, it's a cancel. They are pausing the virtual learning program. Why is this important, you ask? This is important because the families, there are about 600 students in the virtual learning program. They're all disproportionately Black, Brown, and students with disabilities. They needed the program because either the children were immunocompromised and could not be in the building, or there were family members in the home who were immunocompromised, and but then the kids couldn't be in the building because it was too much of a risk. So There were a lot of reasons that APS gave for doing this, none that for me passed the sniff test. But they voted to do it. We are going to be having a sit down with them because now I think our responsibility to the families is to ensure that they get what they need in the interim time and that the children are able to learn. It is our understanding that they are going to be moving all of the families into virtual Virginia. And I don't know that this is true, but it is my understanding that if the children move into virtual Virginia, they move off of APS's data sheet for purposes of counting. And these are children who are not performing so well. But I would like to confirm that. But if it is the case that they're playing a little hanky panky with the data to try to get their numbers right, that's a big problem for me. So again, and similar to the Criminal Justice Committee, especially around things like the virtual learning program and the school board endorsement caucus, where we are with the Education Committee is that, we write really great policy papers, we stay on top of the policies, we're engaging at a lot of different areas, but the question for us now that we're almost 3 years into reinstituting this committee is, what do we do when we get to that end of the road where our advocacy isn't making any impact? So we understand that we're supposed to change policy. What happens when the policy doesn't change and your advocacy is no longer effective? So we're at a point where we have to figure out how far are we willing to go on issues of importance to the branch. How do we go forward? Are we willing to undertake lawsuits? Are we willing to file complaints with the education department? Where do we go from here? So those are conversations that we're entering into because we're finally at that crossroads where we need to really think about what our next steps are. And that is a good thing because that means that we are not allowing ourselves to be co-opted into systems. We're still thinking critically about things and we're still pushing back, even though it very much seems like, things are kind of becoming more and more challenging and more difficult. And everyone has heard that masking is, for all intents and purposes, going away. It's going away on the buses, it's going away in the schools. This presents a unique and challenging situation for particularly members of the Black community. I am not surprised that Reuben Varghese did not say anything about it, because he never says anything about it. But we need to figure out ways to ensure that members of our community can go to school and be safe, because even though Reuben didn't want to say it, we know that there are new variants. There's nothing stopping a new variant. So we know that the next surge is a month, 2 months, 6 months away. And we need to make sure that our community is going to be prepared for what's coming, even if CDC, even if Arlington County is acting as if the world is going on and there's no pandemic. There's still a pandemic, and we have to do our part to take care of our community. We've got some, and I will say this last thing, and then I'm going to release you guys back into the wild. We are planning several programming/educational events. So we are in the process of planning our Know Your Rights program. It's one that we did 2 years ago. It was well received. We've got a pretty significant demand for it now. So we're working on that, and we're hopefully going to be partnering with the Black Attorneys Association here in Arlington to put that on. We are also looking at setting up like a 3-part seminar that talks about racism and the history of structural racism. And we're really looking forward to that as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on the education email, education@arlingtonnaacp.com. You can reach out to me and Simone by cell. We're happy to have more conversations because, as always, education is something that 5 minutes just doesn't cover. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you for your report, Simone. Really appreciate that. So we're at the end of the meeting.
I'm Charisse.
Oh, Cherie, excuse me. Yeah, it's late. Cherie, Simone, I told everyone I'm bad with names. I see you, Mary. I've only been knowing her for like 4 years and still get their names messed up. But that concludes our meeting for tonight. It is 8:40. I think we had a lot there. Cherie did make a point there at the end about, time, how much time does it take? It really takes more. Even if you're talking about a presentation from Dr. Varghese, we need to carve out, maybe we'll cut back as we move forward and only do a couple committees a month. I mean, even though there's a requirement to give a report, but there's just so much information, so much going on. And even in an hour and a half, 2 hours, given everything that's going on in our community and all these organizations, there's just not enough time in the day sometimes. So I would encourage you, if you really want to know more about the Education Committee or any of these committees and you want to get involved, reach out to us. Reach out to us. That way you can do some deep dives into all these areas. Because coming and listening is one thing, but we need soldiers on the battlefield. We need people out here to get busy and do this work. All right. So with that being said, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you for attending. This concludes the meeting. We're now adjourned.